Police in India are facing criticism for a heavy-handed response to students protesting a new citizenship law. The Citizenship Amendment Act provides a pathway to Indian citizenship for religious minorities from neighbouring countries, with the exception of Muslims. Students at Delhi's Jamia Milia Islamia University, parts of which were ransacked by police, are among many across the country that have joined in protests against the law.
Images like these have sparked outrage in India. Baton-wielding police snatch a student. Their excess of force only stopped when confronted with incredible bravery. Part of what eyewitnesses say was a day of violence against students. It culminated in officers firing tear gas on protesters inside the Jamia Milia Islamia University in Delhi before raiding the campus.
So we were waiting and suddenly the police came. When the police came, we thought that at least now we are safe because the crowd ran away. But it came out totally opposite. The police started beating us and abusing us.
The aftermath in the library speaks to the chaos. Scores were injured. Police sent out a public relations officer to clean up the mess.
When we started pushing the protesters back from the road, stones were pelted from both sides, so tear gas was used at that time. The rowdy elements went inside the university and the police chased them in there because a lot of stone pelting was going on. We are doing a thorough investigation.
At a sit-down protest, opposition leaders blamed the government for the heavy-handed response.
The government has attacked students by entering universities, so we will fight for the Constitution of India. We have said it time and again that we will fight against the government.
Hostility to the citizen law keeps gathering steam across India. In West Bengal, firebrand leader Mamata Banerjee led protests. Critics say the act, which grants a route to citizenship for non-Muslim migrants, threatens India's secular foundation. But perhaps it will be the sign of unrest spreading among student bodies that will give Narendra Modi's government most cause for concern.
And the vehemence of these protests has prompted India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to respond on Twitter. He called the outcry unfortunate and deeply distressing. He assured people that no Indian has anything to worry regarding this act. He also added that this is the time to maintain peace, unity and brotherhood. And joining me now is South Asia Director of Human Rights Watch, Meenakshi Ganguly. Ms. Ganguly, Prime Minister Modi has appealed for calm in the midst of these violent protests. Do you think the extent of the opposition has caught the government by surprise?
I do hope that that is the case, that the Prime Minister now recognizes that there is public opinion against this and that he does the right thing in reversing these policies. In a democracy, it's very important for an elected leader to heed protests instead of threatening protesters or making this about politics.
But do you think that these protests that we are seeing across the country represent the large majority view on the Citizenship Amendment Act?
It is hard to tell. That the question really is that there has been a very significant number of voices, students who are out on the streets. The government has made different remarks on this issue. Initially, it was all about trying to control immigration, which of course is also problematic because it is trying to control immigration based on religion. But the bigger concern really is how this amendment bill is tied to a national citizenship process. Now, what happens in a citizenship verification process is that if a non-Muslim cannot produce the paperwork, they would automatically be granted citizenship, while a Muslim would not be able to. Now, in a country where we know for a fact that paperwork is extremely hard to produce, this leads to concerns that a significant chunk of India's population may be denied citizenship. And that really is the basis for the protest. Now, the government needs to very clearly enunciate its policies and to understand that people are objecting to this kind of violation of the Constitution.
But what about the form of objection? There has been a lot of violence. Police officers have also been injured in these protests. What would you say to that?
Well, of course, we would call upon all protesters to only engage in peaceful protest and not engage in violence. But there are other issues involved here. The culture of street violence, unfortunately, has been building up for some time, largely led, in fact, by BJP supporters. This has been the time when, when BJP supporters have gone and vandalized movie theaters or authors' readings or, targeted production of movies or worse, when they have actually attacked Muslims on the street, claiming that they were illegally trading in beef, or attacked people who they accuse of love jihad. Now, this kind of street violence and vigilante violence, we have been saying for the longest time, is something that needs to be contained. This culture has come in because the BJP has refused to act against its supporters when they've engaged in this kind of violence. Now, the same thing is happening here. There are numerous protesters who are also saying that they did not commit the violence. It was done by BJP supporters secretly to make them look bad. Now, it's hard to tell in any of these circumstances what exactly has happened, but certainly what should happen is a calming of situation, a fair investigation, and for the BJP leadership, and particularly the Prime Minister, who is, after all, the Prime Minister of all of India, to come out, not engage in politics, and recognize that there is no shame in a democracy when leaders listen to people's voices and reverse course.
Right. Meenakshi Ganguly, that's where we will leave it for the time being. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you.